Geronimo, one of the most iconic figures of the Apache resistance, led his people through decades of warfare against Mexican and American forces. His life, which spanned tumultuous periods in Native American history, was shaped by personal loss, vengeance, and an enduring fight for Apache freedom. From his early days as Goyokla, a promising shaman and warrior, to his later years as a symbol of resistance, Geronimo's journey is a complex narrative of survival, culture, and warfare. In the 1850s, during a time of uneasy peace between the Apache and Mexican forces, Geronimo's band ventured into Old Mexico. Here, they traded peacefully with the local population. A rare break from the violence that typically marked their interactions with settlers and soldiers. But the peace was short-lived. While most of the men, including Geronimo, were in town, Mexican troops launched a brutal attack on their camp, killing many women and children. Among the dead were Geronimo's wife, mother, and 3 children. This massacre, claimed by Colonel Carrasco as retribution for an earlier Apache raid, ignited an unquenchable hatred in Geronimo. According to Apache tradition, he burned his family's belongings, and in his grief, retreated to the forest there. He claimed to have heard a mystical voice assuring him that no bullet would ever kill him, and that he would be guided in battle. This supernatural encounter seemed to embolden him for the years of warfare ahead. Driven by the loss of his family, Geronimo gathered a war party, and alongside other Apache leaders like Mangus, Colorado, and Cochise, led attacks on Mexican forces. In one particularly fierce confrontation, Geronimo charged at Mexican infantry with only a hunting knife, disregarding the bullets flying around him. His audacity shocked his enemies, who reportedly prayed to Saint Jerome as they faced his fury. This episode gave Geronimo his famous saint's name, shouted in desperation by his enemies. Geronimo was born as Goya, meaning one who on June 16, 1829, in what is now Arizona. He grew up in the fertile lands of the subsection of the Chiricahua Apaches, where his people farmed crops like corn, beans, and squash early on. It became clear that Goyokla had special gifts. His ability to foresee events and interpret the present marked him as a future shaman, and he was trained in sacred songs and rituals. At the age of 17, Goyokla was inducted into the Apache Council of Warriors, where he demonstrated natural hunting skills and leadership abilities. Around this time, he married Alapi, with whom he had 3 children. But his peaceful life as a young father and farmer was shattered in the 1850s when his family was murdered by Mexican troops, setting him on a path of relentless warfare. Following his family's massacre, Geronimo played a central role in leading Apache forces during numerous raids on Mexican and American settlements. He often led small war parties, sometimes numbering just 5 to 30 warriors, and attacked soldiers, settlers, and supply lines across the Mexican-American border. His tactics were unconventional, but highly effective. He taught his warriors how to disappear into the rocky canyons and mountains, slipping away before enemies could track them. One remarkable incident, recounted by an Apache warrior named Jason Betsina, illustrates Geronimo's legendary abilities. During a raid while resting at a campfire, Geronimo suddenly had a vision that their base camp was being attacked by U.S. soldiers. Days later, when they arrived back at the camp, they found that Geronimo's vision had been accurate. Such stories only solidified his reputation among his people as someone with supernatural powers, including the ability to foresee events, avoid bullets, and control time. The 1861 Bascom Affair marked the beginning of prolonged hostilities between the Chiricahua Apaches and the U.S. Army. Lieutenant George Bascom had been sent to retrieve a kidnapped boy and stolen livestock, and in the process, he took Apache leader Cochise hostage. Cochise escaped, but both sides took hostages, and by the end were killed. This ignited a 25-year-long conflict between the U.S. and the Chiricahua. Geronimo continued to lead successful raids against both Mexican and American forces. In one notable raid in 1863, Geronimo and his warriors, alongside Chief Mangus Colorado, repelled a Mexican counterattack and looted goods and livestock. However, this victory was short-lived. When Mangus Colorado attempted to negotiate peace with American settlers, he was betrayed and killed. This only fueled Apache resentment, and Geronimo soon found himself leading his people in a series of guerrilla campaigns against both Mexican and U.S. forces. Despite being pursued by thousands of soldiers, Geronimo and a small band of Apaches continued to resist until 1886. That summer, with only 37 Apaches remaining, Geronimo surrendered to General Nelson Miles under the condition that his people would be reunited with their families. Despite these promises, the Apache were soon imprisoned, first in Florida and then in Alabama, where many died from disease and poor conditions. In his later years, Geronimo, now a symbol of the Apache resistance, traveled across the U.S. appearing at exhibitions, and even in President Theodore Roosevelt's inaugural parade. But he outwardly adapted to life as a prisoner of war. Geronimo never fully accepted his fate. On his deathbed in 1909, after falling from a horse and contracting pneumonia, he lamented that he should have never surrendered, believing he should have died fighting for his people's freedom. Geronimo's story is one of immense personal tragedy, spiritual resilience, and extraordinary leadership. His life not only encapsulates the suffering and endurance of the Apache people, but also highlights the complex interactions between Native Americans, Mexican, and U.S. forces during the 19th century. Today, he is remembered not just for his tactical brilliance and supernatural legend, but also for his enduring spirit of resistance, a warrior who refused to be broken. Even in his final moments,